Welcome back to the Testa Talk Sports Podcast, and this is a two-parter episode here for episode 3. We are again joined by George to talk about some MLB stuff. We got the MLB Draft to recap. We got the Home Run Derby, which was exciting. Cal Raleigh took it home. We have the MLB All-Star Game, some trade deadline stuff. So we get into all of that here in part 1 of episode 3 with George talking about a lot of MLB stuff. And then I recap Wimbledon final of the men's and the women's Wimbledon final. At the end of this part, and then part 2, which should come out sometime probably tomorrow, we get into our NFL quarterback ranking stuff. A lot of controversy with both me and George's lists. Everyone's coming up with their lists nowadays. It's as we close in on the NFL season coming up here very quickly. So we get into our NFL quarterback rankings. We go our top 10, and then we obviously get into some contract extension drama in Washington. Terry McLaurin. We also have some contract extension drama in San Francisco with Jawan Jennings. And then we talk about the extensions that were given out to Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson with the Jets. So we get into all of that in part 2 of this 2-part episode that should be coming out here in the next couple of days. But without further ado, let's get into part 1 here with George. We talk some MLB stuff. All right, welcome back. We are joined here again by George. We're going to discuss some NFL quarterback rankings here. We're going to discuss what happened in the MLB All-Star Game. And the Home Run Derby was last night. The draft was last week. I mean, there was a lot of things that went on this week in the MLB world. So we're going to catch it up with George here. And then we'll talk about some drama in San Francisco. There's some extensions going on. Everything's happening right now with the this is the time to get into the extensions. And, you want to lock up these guys before they obviously hit free agency. So we'll dive into all that today with George. But starting off here, George, the Nationals had the number 1 pick. They went with a shocker, didn't they? I mean, this was, according to most experts, a little bit of a shock. I think we all expected Holiday, maybe Cade Anderson from LSU, and they went kind of not off the map, but they went with a high school shortstop who I don't really know much about. I mean, maybe you can tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah,
but
I can help you out of there a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was so the Nats go with Eli Willits first overall. Definitely a bit of a shock to me, at least. I was pretty sure it was going to be Cade Anderson. That's kind of how the reports were shaping up to the day of the pick. And obviously we just fired our old ownership, so who knows how that went down with the new guys coming in there. But I mean, if you watch this guy on tape, he's a really good player. He's only 17 years old. He's the youngest first overall draft pick since Ken Griffey Jr. I think he's the youngest ever. And I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag of emotions, Like, I personally would have loved Ethan Holiday. I think he's probably a little bit more polished, a little bit closer to the big leagues. But I mean, it's really kind of a gamble when you go with those high school guys. But I'm not mad at the move. Obviously it was a move where you're hoping you can kind of save a little bit of that bonus pool money when you pay them, and you can pay some of those later guys. I'll get into that in a bit, but the Nats did a good job following up, because kind of the way the MLB draft works now, especially with the way the bonus pool stuff is laid out, is your first overall pick obviously is your first pick. It's super important, but kind of rounds 2 through 5, 2 through 7 are really where you get a lot of value there. A lot of those decent college guys, those maybe underrated high school guys that you pay a little extra to because you drafted them. And, there's a lot that goes into it there, but it was an interesting move. Switch hitter, good defense. So it's the guy hopefully the Nats are going to build around, but definitely surprising.
Yeah, it's interesting how the MLB draft works nowadays, because I was talking to a couple of my buddies about this. Is there another draft where, like, the best player, you don't necessarily take the best player, because it's so much now with the money, like you said, they're saving money and maybe getting some more expensive guys in rounds 2 through 5. And obviously there's so many rounds in the draft, but it's just interesting how that works, because I don't think we've seen in any other league really. Now, again, the MLB draft is different. There's a lot of high school guys, so the tape isn't really like, there's college guys that you have tape on, but then the high school, there's a lot of high school shortstops that went. So it's interesting how the MLB draft works, that maybe he's not the best player in the class. I mean, maybe he will be, but according to many, it was, Holiday or Anderson, yet maybe those guys will be a little more expensive. So the Nationals are taking a little bit of an analytical approach, is what they were saying to this, and going with the guy that maybe they save a little bit more money. I think this happened a couple years back too, where somebody did this. It was kind of a surprise pick, and they saved money. I don't know if it was Cleveland or someone who it was, but we've seen it happen before in the MLB.
Yeah, I think you're thinking Baltimore actually with Jackson Holiday.
Baltimore, yeah.
Who I'm trying to remember who exactly. I can look it up. Who was in the rest of that draft class? But he was not really the kind of the number one overall guy. You know, there was a couple other guys that maybe were going to be a little more expensive that they might have wanted to draft ahead of him, but they went Holiday so they could save a little money. But yeah, it's kind of a similar move, like you said.
Yeah, and I think there was another year where I think Pittsburgh had it. Obviously, they went Skeens one year, but I think they also went Henry Davis another year. I could be wrong about that. I don't know if he was one or if he was two, but either way, it's okay. He was one, yeah. And I think there was guys in that class too where you can make the argument that they were. But either way, I mean, it's interesting. I do like that you mentioned the point about Holiday. He might be closer to coming up, and I think Harold Ramirez even mentioned he's like he could be up as early as next year. He's that good. But the Nationals maybe are thinking a little bit more long term. It's kind of polarizing. I've seen Nats fans that say, you know what, we're just kind of dedicated to the rebuild this whole decade now. Like he may not be like a full-fledged. They're committed to like the rest of the decade. Basically, they are kind of committed to this rebuild. Is kind of what it seems. So maybe that's not what Nats fans want to hear, but because this guy might have some work to do to get up in the big leagues. But I mean, if he's the best long-term player, I guess you can't really go wrong with it, right? You can't make an argument that's not a right pick or something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hope long-term obviously he pans out, but it does kind of feel like the Nats are going to rebuild the rebuild here a little bit. I saw the quote with Mike DeBartolo, the interim general manager, and he was talking about how they love it when a guy who they can take a guy who you see long-term future with, who your scouting department agrees with and your analytics department agrees with, and you know you can pay him a little less. So it kind of felt like it was one of those more well-rounded decisions where they weren't super sold on the first overall pick, like maybe 2 years ago with like Paul Skeens,
right,
and Dylan Cruz. You know, like those are guys that can't miss guys out of college. And it kind of felt like, and I'd actually agree that coming out of the NCAA and coming out of college this year, there wasn't really a top dog kind of guy. Obviously, Cade Anderson was great, Liam Doyle great, but you kind of knew it was going to be a high school guy.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those, like, it's a coin flip. You know, if you fall in love with a prospect, he's only 17 years old. You're hoping he's going to make his debut before he hits 20. Give him a lot of big league at bats, and like the Nats really have so many holes. So you like when I was talking about it, I don't really want a middle of the rotation third pitcher, second pitcher right now who's 22 years old. You know, it might be beneficial to a team.
But what's going to do for a rebuilding team like the Nats?
Exactly, it's beneficial to a team that's going to compete in the next 2-3 years. But the Nats are a long ways away from that, unfortunately, as tough that is to admit. But yeah, it's interesting, and kind of getting into where they went after they took Ethan Petrie at their second round pick. One of those college guys, you're kind of hoping that he provides some pop. You know, he's just kind of one of those safe choice guys. And then after that, it was 3 high school guys in a row. Right. It was Landon Harmon, Miguel Samay, and Coy James. All 3 of those are top 100 MLB draft prospects, and they got them in rounds 2, 3, and 4, or 3, 4,
That's
and 5.
Huge. So, that's what you're looking. Yeah,
exactly. So I thought actually, in all, the Nats had a really good draft, and you know they're going to take heat for passing on Ethan Holiday, and I'm sure Ethan Holiday is going to be a great player. But
for Colorado,
I mean, and also you get into that. I love that for Ethan. And
they needed something. The Rockies needed something to go their way this year.
The Rockies have had a tough couple of years. I think they made the playoffs twice in the last 10, 15 years. So I like Colorado. I hope he succeeds there.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the fact that you don't want a third, middle of the pitching staff guy, third pitcher. I think Seattle though did Seattle end up getting Cade Anderson? I think they did at 3, right?
Yeah, I believe it was Seattle, which I think
that's a team that you could say kind of they needed a Cade Anderson. They needed it. I mean, they obviously have ridiculous pitching anyways, but like they're a team that's expected. They're in a wild card spot right now, but obviously he's not. Either way, they could say we can use all the arms we want. We have a lot of good young pitchers, but Cade Anderson, we're a team that we think is close. So why would we take a high school guy theoretically if we think we're kind of close and then in a wide open AL? Why not grab a guy who can pitch as early as next year and help us? So it makes sense. So now yesterday, speaking of the Mariners, their guy Cal Raleigh goes up there and hits a ton of bombs, wins the home run derby, first catcher to win it in I believe 39 years. He's the first Mariner. Yeah, he's the first Mariner to win it since obviously Ken Griffey Jr. I don't want to sound like all ESPN and stuff and say what does this mean for his legacy, but I mean this is an unbelievable season by Cal Raleigh. I mean, where does this put Cal Raleigh now? This is insane what we're seeing from Cal Raleigh. He's on pace to break Aaron Judge's record in the AL at least from a couple years ago. I know he was the favorite to win the Derby, but what does this say about Cal Raleigh and what he's doing this year? This is incredible stuff.
I mean, it says a ton. I mean, to get that kind of production out of the catcher spot is unheard of. Switch hitting catcher. We haven't seen a guy like that really since Jorge Posada. And I'd say what Cal Raleigh's doing this year is better than anything I really saw Posada do offensively, at least power-wise.
Yeah, for sure.
He's got an OPS over 1,000, obviously 38 homers. I mean, that's ridiculous. He could hit 70 home runs legitimately this year.
It's insane.
So, it was a family affair last night in Atlanta. Had the dad pitching to him, his brother was catching him. It was a really fun watch. I mean, like I watched the entire thing. I think it was 3 hours, and
it's an incredible derby.
I didn't usually watch the full derby. It can kind of get a little repetitive. Yeah. And I will say, I'm gonna take a moment here to disrespect the format. I was not a fan of that format.
I totally agree.
I think that you should never put the power in the position of the pitcher, the guy throwing the pitches. You shouldn't count the pitches.
Yeah, pitches left was weird because there was some bad pitches in there. It's like, oh, now they don't have enough chances to even catch. Like they used to do was swings left, so guys could take the right swing when they wanted to, or obviously they had just a time limit, but they had time limit and they had pitches left. So not all guys got through all their pitches. Some guys were slower on their delivery. So I think Buxton had like 6 pitches left that he didn't even get to use.
Buxton, and I think maybe it wasn't Caminero, someone in the second round too. It might have been Buxton.
Caminero,
Buxton, he like if you got a bad day from your BP pitcher, it's just like you're kind of screwed. So I think they got to bring back the 10 outs and the 3 bonus swings or the 3 bonus outs. Like 10 outs is the best. Like you shouldn't get penalized because your guy can't throw a strike.
Your guy can't throw a strike, and it's weird now. Cal Raleigh's dad was throwing a lot of middle in pitches. Some of them weren't even strikes, but he was mashing them. That's
he was living low and in and just
and that's you can't hate on that. But yeah, exactly. It did hurt some of. Now we'll get into Jazz Chisholm, and he only hit 3 bombs. I don't know if it was a pitching issue. He was taking a lot of pitches, but he was also working on his swing, hitting a lot of ground balls.
he was hitting the ball hard. I was watching the StatCast stream with the exit velos. Obviously, he's hitting the ball hard. But I don't know. He's just one of those guys that when you think home run derby, you don't really think of Jazz Chisholm. Love Jazz as a player. Same. I love him. Super fun. He's got all the things going on for the Yankees too. I think the Yankees kind of need a guy like that. But yeah, he's not a home run derby guy. And he came out after and was kind of like, I'm saving my swing.
He was like, I wanted to just, he was like, I'm going to keep hitting the ball. He's like, I wasn't really trying to hit the ball in the air, which is obviously the point of the derby.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you there for?
Exactly. Yeah. Like you could have picked the fan out and they would have tried to at least hit the ball in the air trajectory.
Exactly.
But it was a bad performance from Jazz Chisholm, only getting 3 bombs up there last time.
Right.
I thought it was an overall great derby. I mean, you get guys like Junior Caminero, who would have been, if he won, the youngest player to win the derby, and he was close.
Oh, wow.
I thought he was going to get it for a second there. But again, the pitches maybe weren't all there. And then O'Neal Cruz hit a ball 513 feet and 118. How's it even possible? 118 off the bat. And again, these are not like it's hard to get like 120 plus off the exit velo because they're throwing batting practice. It's not like you're throwing 95 mile an hour pitches. But he hit one 513. It left the entire stadium. It left the ballpark. I was like, I can't believe that ball just went that far. But like I can because it's O'Neal Cruz and he hit one a mile and they were just mashing baseballs last night. It was a really good derby to watch. I think that some of these young guys, they got to bring them back because they're just great television. Like Cruz and Caminero. I mean, obviously Vladdy won one. Vladdy won one 2 years ago, but he was basically coaching up Junior Caminero on the home plate.
Yeah, I mean the MLB's never been in a better position in terms of just raw athletes,
young talent,
pure talent, young talent. I mean. You saw Vladdy there. You saw Tatis. He's another one you'd love to see.
Ellie De La Cruz wanted to be in it too.
Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, you go top to bottom. You might have to expand this thing to like 15 guys, like it's the college football playoff.
Right.
I mean, there's so many mashers. So 513. I remember because James Wood went first, and he hit one. I think 486. He might have gone over the chop house, and I was like, I don't think anyone's beating 486. And I didn't think that O'Neal Cruz 6'7", 240 was coming up behind him.
Right, I forgot about that.
And he put on a show. I mean, he put on a show. He's fun. It's fun to watch him hit the ball. One of the most gifted athletes in the entire league. They
were just showing his swing, and same thing with Junior. I thought Junior's swing was just made for this derby, and it was just like it was incredible.
Easy power, just catching him out in front. It's fun to watch. Obviously, not every day you see these pro guys just try to hit home runs, and the feel for the barrel is so impressive. Just the way they can just consistently. So it was
the kid robbed the Junior home run too. We that was a big storyline. The kid was able to reach over the wall and bring it back. I was like, oh my gosh, no way. That almost like messed with Junior a little bit because he saw that out there and took his time out.
I think it might have, and they were like making sure they counted it and everything. And he came back a little slower in that second half of his round. So maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought a righty was going to win it. Honestly, after that first round, I realized short porch to left,
short porch down there,
small
left
fence, And it's kind of like if you go left center, it's going to be easier than if you go right center because right center gets a lot deeper. But Cal Raleigh, I mean, you kind of prove you got both sides of the plate. You got the switch hitting aspect. So
yeah, and I don't know about you. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I think that this is the best all-star event in any major sport. A few years ago, I loved. It was like 5 years ago. I still thought it was the 3-point contest. I love the 3-point contest in basketball. The dunk contest maybe 10 years ago I thought was the best.
Yeah,
I think it's not even close now. I think that the MLB home run derby, because now guys don't really play in the dunk contest in basketball. Like you're getting like reserves. Like no big players trying to even play. They're not trying to embarrass themselves when they miss a dunk, and it's like you know. But even the 3-point contest, like now that Steph's not doing it, it's like okay, well, and they try to do the thing. Yeah, but I think in the home run derby, first of all, MLB's got all the young talent in the world that they can actually put these guys out there and showcase their power. But I think that just the overall product is the best at any all-star event in any major sport at this point. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think
I think that's actually, I agree. I think that's a good take. I mean, like you said, maybe 10 years ago, the dunk contest was kind of took
the main event. Right.
Yeah. But like you go top to bottom, I mean, the home run derby is just special. Just watching guys just launch balls for 3 straight hours is so fun.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good take. You know, I kind of wish they would bring back some of like I wish LeBron and those guys. I wish all those big dudes were competing in the dunk contest. You know, having guys like seeing Mac McClung win his second dunk contest when I don't think he's actually played an NBA minute yet.
No,
it's just
it's not great for the league.
Kind of, you know, it rubs off a little bit like it's a joke, which it is. You know, it's an all-star weekend. I'm not here to say but take it too seriously, but
you do want to promote your best players too. And I think 10 years ago when they had Levine and Aaron Gordon do it, who were 2 young up-and-coming dudes, they obviously both one ended up being an all-star in Levine, and Gordon ended up being a champion. You'd want to – that's when it was great, when you had these young players, 21, 22, showing off their athleticism and dunking the ball through the legs from the free throw line. That's when it was when it was at its best. Now it's like G Leaguers and rookies who are at the end of the bench. It's like it's not really a way to promote the league at this point. Yeah, and obviously all the stars don't want to do it, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the all-star weeks is it kind of feels like these leagues, these major sports leagues, you know, obviously think of the big 4. They're always kind of they're the same, you know, year to year. And the All-Star week is kind of the one thing that the front office and the commissioner can just do whatever they want with. So every year they change it up. Every year the MLB home run derby format is different. And every year they've got a new event. They've got the skills challenge, or they're adding, you know, a different thing to whatever. They talked about the 3v3 tournament. Now they've got the in-season tournament. They always like to change it up, you know.
They love tournaments. Adam Silver loves tournaments. He loves tournaments.
Yeah, you know, but I think there's something to be said about just do the regular stuff. Just bring out the actual best 3-point shooters. Bring out the actual best dunkers and just let them go. Like
probably make the best product at the end of the day.
By far the best product. I mean, you talk about why the NBA has kind of declined on viewership, and it's a mix of guys not wanting to play all day. The regular season just kind of seems like they're not trying.
And the constant moving around. I think them continuing to move around their All-Star weekend, like, again, and obviously the MLB changes their format of the home run derby, but it's still generally the same kind of format, the same kind of event. They don't do anything like crazy, you know.
But you got 8 hitters hitting home runs every time.
Exactly, you got 8 hitters. At the end of the day, it's the same exact thing, and you're not changing around all the you know, the kinks and all that other stuff. It's basically you know you're going to get guys mashing baseballs for 3 hours. So I do think the MLB has kind of separated on that aspect. As far as the All-Star weekend goes, obviously the NHL does a really good job now with the 4 nations. So I think that's one that you could consider for sure. But
I think it's only been 1 year of that.
It's only been 1 year of it, so we don't really have enough.
Love.
I thought it was incredible. I thought it was really good. I was like, okay, that's something that could stick. Because some of these NBA things they've tried, I'm like, is that going to stick? I don't think fans really like it that much.
Yeah, in-season tournament.
Target score, obviously the in-season stuff. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's all going to.
Target score. Yeah, the target score all-star game, which it was interesting. You know, I can't think of an all-star game where, like, pretty much since the Kobe year, you know, rest in peace, obviously.
Yeah, they used it for that, and I thought it worked for that.
That worked, and I think it was kind of different. They were playing for a bigger reason. But I just want to see, like, 5v5, those 2 All-NBA teams, when they're actually just like they're going at each other's necks. You got Jokic and Embiid, you got Steph and Dame or SGA and Steph, like whoever the top 2 guys are year to year. You got Luka and Giannis, like you got all those dudes, and they're actually trying. So
yeah, I think they're going to try to go to like a. I think they're going to try to go like a USA versus World thing and try to steal a little bit what that hockey does. I just don't know if it's going to matter because
Hockey, it's different though. Hockey, there's such a barrier between USA hockey and Canada hockey.
Right?
And then Russia, and Finland, and Sweden, and
like if you put Giannis and Jokic on the same team, like, do they really care about winning for the international players? Like, they're not really going to. Not even if he plays for Serbia, he'll care. But if Jokic is playing with SGA and Giannis and playing for, again, it's Canada, Greece, and Serbia. What are those three players really going to care about the All-Star week for? You have to up the ante a little bit. Yeah. They just have to do that. If they, I don't really see any route they can go. They tried the East-West thing. They tried the captain things. It just hasn't really worked.
Yeah, but I think the USA versus World and the USA versus Europe stuff is kind of belongs in golf. And, they do the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup and stuff like that, and the Golf Olympics. I think they do it great there. But in terms of USA versus World, I just don't see kind of the future, especially for the NBA. It's like if they're doing that, it's the Olympics. Right. You're not doing that within your own league. So yeah, it's something to talk about. It's fun. It's one of those topics when you're sitting in the middle of summer that it's easy to talk about the All-Star games, comparing them. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. Obviously, the All-Star game is tonight. Skeen's on the mound for the AL. Or no, Skeen's on the mound for the NL, I should say. Scooble on the mound for the AL. Probably the Cy Young favorites in both. We talked about that in episode 2.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're an NL guy. I'm an AL guy. So does the NL have it? I was looking through the lineups earlier. I'm not going to lie. The NL lineup is pretty stacked. I'm a little worried.
I got to check. I haven't seen the line, or I saw the lineups, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think Lindor's batting 8th, which should tell you that the NL is pretty loaded.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Pete Armstrong batting 9th, by the way, PCA batting 9th, so it's tough.
Yeah, credit to PCA for even starting in that lineup.
Exactly.
I guess he's not a rookie anymore, but as a young talent like that. But I did see. I want to shed a little light on. I saw the Max Fried Tarek Skubal interaction about Skubal defaulting to him because he played in Atlanta for so long.
You're right. Yeah.
And he gave Skubal the start because Skubal's just been so good. That's kind of what it's all about, right? That's the All-Star
game. I love
that. Seeing these guys and seeing them like last night at the Home Run Derby, seeing everyone supporting their boys and giving them advice and stuff. I just love that stuff. But as like you said, I think it's the NL. It's got to be the NL. I mean that NL's so good this year. But I mean, it's baseball. That's what I'm going to say it every time. Is you just don't know. It comes out with if Skubal's throwing like he can, there's no runs to be scored. And
right. That's what I'm saying. I think the NL lineup is much better. I think
Mason Miller's in there and Emmanuel Clase, and you've got all these. You got all these Aroldis Chapman maybe. There's a million guys that you don't want to face. So it's going to be fun. I don't know if I'll watch, but.
Right. It used to be flipped. It used to be the AL had won this thing like 10 out of the last 11, I think. And they had all the hitters. They had Judge. Yeah. They still have Judge. They still have Vladdy. They had Ohtani in the AL. Now he's in the NL. So it almost like they had like all these. Now they have the NL has all the hitters. Teoscar's in the NL now. They have all these guys that were all-stars in the AL.
Teoscar is who you think of.
Teoscar was in the AL All-Star game a couple years ago. I was like, this guy. He was in the middle of the order.
Did he win MVP? Did he win All-Star game MVP? He might have.
I think he did. I think it was. Now he won the Home Run Derby last year.
I know he won the Derby. He's one of those guys.
I think him or Stanton won 1 year. But either way, the AL's always had some mashers. Now you look at it, it's like the AL's had no disrespect to obviously the Tigers had an incredible year, but you got like 4 Tigers in the lineup starting lineup.
You got 4 Tigers.
Javi Baez. Yeah, I mean you have Javi Baez. Right, exactly. But Judge and Raleigh are mashers. Vladdy can obviously hit the ball a ton, but it's mostly you got to deal with a tough NL lineup. Now we do have Skubal, so I'm as an AL guy, I'm rooting for it. Now these guys are only going to go like 1 or 2 innings. So that's the other thing you got to look at. It's like you'll go to Skubal, probably turn it over to Max Fried, and you go from there. But it should be a fun, interesting game. They used to obviously have it where it dictated who had the home field. Now
I was going to get to that. I mean, the fact that was even the case at any point is an absolute outrage.
Wow,
it's an exhibition game. Like this is let's not.
This is determined. I think 1 year it determined the Royals had home field over the Giants in the World Series. It's because the AL won the All-Star.
Was it Giants or was it Mets? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, it might have been. Well, no, the Royals. I think the Royals, the year they made the World Series against the Giants, I think they were like the last team in the playoffs. It was a crazy ride.
2014.
Yeah, I think that's what I could be wrong. I think the Giants were also a wild card team.
So but either way, point being, it was ridiculous that they used to have that as the case. But yeah, I mean, All-Star game's fun, and they're wearing their actual home jerseys and away jerseys this year, which I thought was good. I don't know if you guys watched the Home Run Derby last night. Obviously, you did, Mike.
They had
the All-Star. Those jerseys are genuinely some of the worst I've ever seen in my life.
I cannot believe they let them wear that.
I could not believe it. I was sitting there with my brother, with my parents. My brother was kind of defending them, like because they're doing the Hank Aaron era logo.
Yeah,
but it's why are we wearing navy blue? Yeah, why are we wearing navy blue? Why is there two like? It's just they were hideous. They
were bad.
I'm glad I don't have to see those tonight.
No, they're wearing their own uniforms, which should be nice, obviously, for that. So yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good derby. I thought it's been a really good MLB week. You have the draft of the derby. Now you got the All-Star game. Yeah. I think they've been they do it right. Obviously, it's not a weekend like any other league. Like the Pro Bowl does it over the weekend. obviously NBA All-Star Weekend, but the MLB has it right where Sunday's the draft, Monday's the Derby, Tuesday's the All-Star game, and then they get into the weekend series back for the second half of the season here pretty soon. But we can go into baseball deadline stuff. This is kind of when it starts happening again. I mean, we mentioned briefly we threw out a couple trades,
couple names,
as one would.
As the deadline approaches each week, it's going to get a little bit more closer, and
the stove is getting hot.
Stove is getting hot, and I'm starting with Zach Gallen. Kind of where I was before. So many teams need pitching. I know the Jays were actually linked to him. I talked to you about that for a sec. The Yankees, obviously, they need, and then the Mets, I think, as well. I heard their name rumbling around a little bit in the Zach Gallen talks. So he's one of those guys that, like I said last time, if he gets if he's on the right contender, he's going to be a good addition. But the Diamondbacks in general are kind of just saying we're willing to move guys, and we're willing to move Eugenio Suarez, of course, Zach Gallen, and I think Josh Naylor as well. Those three of the bigger names that I've heard. Maybe Merrill Kelly, I'm not sure exactly, but they made it known that they're willing to move guys. And I think it's the right move there. They've got plenty of talent in Arizona. They got Corbin Burns, who's hurt now, I believe. He'll be back. But you kind of build for next year, I think, especially in the NL West.
It's so unfortunate because I think they're one of the more talented teams in the NL. And the NL is really talented.
They made the World Series 2 years ago.
I know, and I think they should honestly be better. Like they have Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll, Josh Naylor, and Eugenio Suarez, like you said. That's one of the best. That's one of the best cores. Exactly.
In the league.
And to think that they're going to be sellers is kind of like really not kind of disappointing. It's very disappointing. But they should be sellers. Like you said, it's the right move. I think it is the right move to be selling. Maybe Merrill Kelly too. Like Zach Gallen, who you even mentioned, kind of has had a down year. So if you're able to trade him for like a good, couple prospects and something, you certainly would do that at this point. So I mean, it's probably the right move for the Diamondbacks. Suarez, obviously, we talked about how many teams could use that bat in their lineup, and it's kind of going to the waste right now in the desert. So I kind of agree. It's too many teams to climb. So I think they do have to be sellers by kind of default because they're having an underwhelming year. I think they're under 500, so it's just like you have to at that point. So
it'll be interesting to see kind of if it's a buyer's or a seller's market. There's a lot of teams that are kind of right on the precipice there. We actually haven't mentioned it, but the Red Sox, they've won 10 in a row.
10 in a row.
Kind of turned the AL East into a 3-horse race now. We're talking about Yankees, Blue Jays last week, but the Red Sox, they're
throwing their hat right in the ring.
They're 3 games back in the All-Star break. So, I mean, you can't count out the Red Sox. Not sure exactly where they're going to get better. Maybe another pitcher, maybe another bat. I don't know if Bregman's coming back or when. But they've had production, so the Red Sox are interesting. I
mean, if you told Red Sox fans 2 weeks ago they might be buyers, they would be like, nah.
They tell you.
Well, they haven't really been buyers lately, anyways. They haven't had the pitching really in recent years to even be competitive. But now they're competitive. Like you said, they're 3 games back. I thought it would be a 3-horse race, but I thought the Rays would be the third team in the race, and the Red Sox just swept them right along. And now the Rays are I think 5.5 back. So it's basically a 3-horse race, and if the Rays maybe could throw their hat in the ring. But I think, there's 4 teams in the AL East that can make the playoffs right now. There's 3 teams that currently occupy a playoff spot. I think the Rays are a game and a half behind Seattle for the last one. But it's a wide open race. I don't know who Boston would theoretically add. I mean, obviously you can throw names out there, and but it's just tough because I don't think they thought 2 weeks ago they'd be in. I mean, Cedar Rafaela has been incredible. Kind of saved their season to a degree. Yeah. They traded Rafael Devers, but now Rafaela has been emerging as like a budding star here in Boston. It's just been incredible.
Yeah, the Devers trade, I wasn't a huge fan of that, obviously. I thought that you got to be able to figure out how to get that done. Yeah. He talked about just wanting to commit to one position and kind of felt like the Red Sox weren't sure. Don't love that. But, you bounce back from that and you start playing some really good baseball. So maybe it was the right move. But I know Jeff Pass, and he talked about they're going to be aggressive at the deadline. Not exactly sure where. They've got their pitching staff has been solid. Garrett Crochet, Brian Bayo, and Lucas Giolito. I mean, that's been a really nice time.
Giolito's found himself. Yeah, he's been great.
Giolito's really found it. And he's a guy we always kind of knew had the stuff was always there. It just kind of comes down to where he's leaving it, depending on the time of the year, depending on how he's feeling. Yeah, location. So I think the Red Sox are solid, and they're going to be buyers for sure. So there's a few teams now that I know have kind of started to explore looks. The Guardians, Steven Kwan, Emmanuel Clase, they've mentioned moving those two.
Moving off of them,
like if the Royals, depending on what the market looks like, if Seth Lugo's having a really nice year, if they've got a good offer for him, probably would take at least one top 100 guy for the way he's playing. Yeah. And then the Braves we talked about before, Albies, and then Ozuna as well. He's kind of played really nice towards the towards the close of the All-Star, the first half in the All-Star break. He does have 10-5 rights, meaning 10 years of service with 5 years on one team. He can deny trades. But yeah, there's a few guys there that I wouldn't be shocked. They weren't really guys you thought were going to get moved at the beginning of the year, but there's teams that just aren't competitive. And so if it's a seller's market.
Class A, Cleveland made the ALCS last year, so I don't think anyone expected those guys to be possible.
I think they're in fourth place right now.
They are in fourth, and they're a distant wild card. I mean, not even obviously they're fourth in the division, but they're not even close to jumping up there in the standings wise. So yeah, I mean, we talked about sellers. Now, who could be? You mentioned obviously the Red Sox. We mentioned the Jays possibly linked to Zach Allen, the Mets as well. But who could be some buyers possibly that are maybe like a move or two away from theoretically? We know the Dodgers are in there.
Surprise buyers, obviously.
Surprise buyers, right? Guys. Exactly. Yeah.
I mentioned the Royals with Lugo. I'm kind of interested with them because I think that's a really nice team. I like having Caglione up. He's not playing his best right now, but it's cool to have him.
I love him having him up. Yeah.
Yeah, and you always never know with Salvador Perez back there, and their pitching staff has kind of been a little. I'm not exactly sure.
Chris Bubic has been really good. But
Bubic has been good. Yeah, I mean it just kind of depends, but yeah, the Royals maybe. From the National League, we kind of covered it. Like all the teams that you would imagine. The Diamondbacks are kind of the line.
Yeah.
Like you expect. Like the Giants to buy, the Brewers.
Everyone above the Diamondbacks, like the Giants. Yeah, Giants, Brewers. Exactly. Now are talking about
the Cardinals. Cardinals, I'm not sure exactly what to expect with the Cardinals. Yeah. I've kind of heard both buy and sell from them.
Yeah, they're kind of involved.
They've got some old guys. They've got some young guys. So I think it's going to depend on what the market looks like. If teams are willing to overpay like they kind of have been in the recent past, the last few years, we've seen pretty much since, like the Nats have kind of set the pace with some of these trades with those huge blockbuster deals. But yeah, if it's a buyer's market, if it's a seller's market, I wouldn't be shocked to see a couple of surprise sells from like the Cardinals, maybe.
Yeah, you mentioned the aggressiveness last couple of years. The Jays were able to. Now again, the Astros went for it, but the Astros gave the Jays, I think, 2 of their top 5 prospects for Yusei Kikuchi, who was an expiring deal. I mean, Yusei Kikuchi immediately left; he was a rental, so they traded their 1 year guy. Yeah, they traded Lou Perfido and Wagner. They traded 2 of their top 5 prospects to the Jays for a half a season of Yusei Kikuchi. They did not even make it out of the wild card round, and he obviously leaves to go to the Angels, their division rivals. So you mentioned the aggressiveness. How aggressive will teams be? They've in the past been aggressive at the deadline.
Yeah, so, I think that this year it might be a tick down. There's not as many big name guys I think available. There's a few dudes in there, and who knows? I hope there will be maybe a surprise move that we don't see coming. One of those big blockbuster moves.
There usually always is one surprise.
There's usually something. There's always a surprise. Someone's making some stupid decision. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys, a lot of kind of those middling guys who are going to be available. I know the Nationals are going to probably sell everyone over the age of like 27. They've got Josh Bell, Ahmed Rosario, Nate Lowe.
Ahmed Rosario is not going to the team.
No way. And Josh Bell, he's actually the last like 20 games, he's got like an 800 OPS. So he's playing well.
Yeah, but that's the time to move him. That's the time to move him, though. Unfortunately, it's like
exactly. As a lower end team, you kind of have to know your game, right? You sign those guys to expiring 1-year deals or 2-year deals because you want to trade them and turn them into young prospects. That's how you get your Pete Crow Armstrongs and your James Woods and all those elite players. You need to trade for them. So yeah, it'll be interesting. There really hasn't been any moves yet. Not a ton. I don't think there's been a trade yet, really.
No,
but
the one was Devers was the move. That was like a month ago.
That wasn't really a deadline move.
No, not a deadline move, but yeah,
that was kind of just the Red Sox
out of nowhere in the middle of the season.
Yeah, crazy sending him to San Francisco.
Right.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be one of those kind of unpredictable markets that you gotta watch closely.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that's pretty much you said it perfectly. It's unpredictable is the word I'd use for the deadline because I really don't know how it's going to go. And like you said, like there's teams that a couple weeks ago maybe wouldn't be buying that are buying now, and there's maybe teams that a couple weeks ago would not be selling that they maybe are selling now. So, I mean, again, the Guardians' 11-game losing streak certainly didn't help the fact that they might now deal off Quan and maybe even Class A, but it's kind of how it goes. If you have an 11-game losing streak in the middle of the season, or in the Red Sox case, you have a 10-game winning streak and counting in the middle of the season, you talk about it a little differently now. This is now how we kind of view these teams. So
this is the home stretch right here. Right. You got 65 games left or whatever it is. You gotta make it.
How you come out after the break is how it dictates everything. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
All right, we're back here to talk about some Wimbledon. It just wrapped up this past weekend. Saturday was the women's final. Sunday was the men's final. Dominating performance by Iga Swiatek. on Saturday to win the ladies championship of Wimbledon. 6-love over Amanda Anisimova. I mean, just one of maybe the most dominating Grand Slam final win that I can remember watching. I mean, obviously you can go back, before then, and there's probably a more dominant, but 6-love in a final is just unheard of. I don't think that's even ever happened, at least not since I've been watching tennis. She was just incredible. I was the idiot that said I didn't trust her serve heading into the tournament. Her serve was just fine. She was absolutely outstanding against Amanda. She was really outstanding the entire tournament, but 6-love in a final of Wimbledon is absolutely unheard of. I mean, that's a first round score. Nonetheless, Amanda should be very proud. I mean, an American getting to the Wimbledon final, first time since Serena in 2019. So she should be very proud of her run. But Iga was just an absolute machine the entire tournament. Everything that touched the racket was gold. So I think she would have beat Sabalenka as well. I was wrong about that because I had Sabalenka over Iga in the final. But Iga was just incredible the entire tournament. And then for Sinner to bounce back a month after the crushing loss to Carlos and take him and then drop the first set, which is huge because I think if anyone needed the first set, it would have been Sinner. He's accustomed to getting the first set and not trailing, but he drops the first set despite being up a break 4-2, loses the next 4 games, drops the first set 6-4, then has an incredible second set in that last service game, serving for the set. It's 6-4 win for Sinner to get it to one set apiece. Another early, or not an early break, but an early break in set 2, and then a late break in set 3 and gets the 6-4 win there. And then a fourth set, which is when we think Carlos is going to turn it on. It's 4-3 Sinner. Sinner serving to get to 5-3 and not get broken back. And Carlos has 2 break points at 15-40. And this is when we really think, okay, Sinner, we saw this happen in Roland Garros in Paris, where he got broken in the fourth set. They went back on serve and they went to a tiebreak, which obviously Alcaraz won and forced a fifth. Sinner was able to save both break points at 15-40. Wins the next 4 points, wins the service game, gets to 5-3, gets the huge hold, and obviously Alcaraz is able to force him to serve out the match, serve out the championship, and Sinner was able to win it 6-4. Just too good serving was Sinner in this entire tournament. But in the final, the differentiator was the serving. Alcaraz just couldn't buy a first serve. His serve really let him down in this final. Sinner was just the more consistent server of the two. And in the rallies, Sinner got the better of Alcaraz, I thought, for the most part. And it really frustrated Carlos because he wasn't really in control of those, which he usually is. But Sinner was just too consistently good. Alcaraz's first serve let him down. And a relatively smooth sailing, but a great match. Sinner wins it in 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. So every single set was 6-4. Every single set had a break in there. The first set had a bunch of breaks, but Sinner was just really too consistently good. And he becomes the first Italian man to win Wimbledon. So, and he will be the favorite heading into the U.S. Open. He's obviously won 3 straight hard courts, Grand Slams, that is, 3 straight hard court majors. He won U.S. Open last year. He won the Australian Open the last 2 years, this year and last year. So he will be the favorite heading into New York in September to win the U.S. Open again. So not too surprising, I feel like. Sinner Alcaraz, we all knew this was going to be the matchup. The question was, could Sinner, if it goes 4 or 5, would he break down? Because Alcaraz has had so much success in 5-setters, and he's had his number lately. But this is a real rivalry now. It was a real rivalry anyways, but you needed Sinner to beat him in a final. Because Alcaraz, prior to this, had never lost a Grand Slam final. He was 5-0 in major finals. Now he's 5-1. So this is going to be a very interesting rivalry. They're both 22 and 23, so they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But yeah, overall, a great couple weeks of tennis. Love Wimbledon, love the grass court season, but now we are headed into hard court season where Sinner has dominated recently over the last couple of years. So we shall see. But that's it for this episode. We're going to be doing a 2-parter. So the next episode, we're going to still bring George back. We'll talk some NFL stuff. But overall, this was a great tennis couple of weeks. And yeah, we will head into episode 4. We'll get into some football stuff. We'll get into some rankings. And that's what you have to look forward to.